How's it going, everybody? It's Young here with an Xbox One news update. As most of you may be aware by now, Sony recently announced their latest PlayStation 4 refreshes, the PlayStation 4 Slim and the PlayStation 4 Pro. The former is essentially the same PlayStation 4 we all know and love, but in a smaller form factor, while the latter is a PlayStation 4 with a higher clocked CPU, more than double the GPU power, 4K capabilities, HDR, and all of these buzzwords culminate to what is essentially a more powerful PS4 that will run the same PS4 games across the board, but with more graphical fidelity. In response to PlayStation's announcement, Xbox fired back, starting with this social media post that reads as follows: 4K streaming and Blu-ray, check. HDR gaming, check. Greatest games, check. 40% smaller, check. Beautiful design, check. Xbox One S from $299. I am definitely starting to get similar vibes from when Sony fired back at Xbox One with that troll video showcasing how easy it was to borrow and lend games on the PlayStation 4 back when Microsoft announced all of these weird restrictions on borrowing and lending games on Xbox One. Now, for those who don't understand what some of these bullet points are referring to, the first bullet point, 4K streaming and Blu-ray, is essentially firing back at how despite all of the emphasis on 4K during the PlayStation Meeting 2016 event, this new powerful PlayStation 4 doesn't feature a 4K Blu-ray player. It can stream media on 4K, but it doesn't support 4K Blu-rays, whereas the Xbox One S, the slimmer, slightly more capable version of the original Xbox One that released a month ago, and this isn't even the Scorpio, does support the feature. This topic was probably one of the biggest talking points following the PlayStation 4 Pro's announcement, and it looks like Microsoft is capitalizing on the negative reception. Then there's the HDR gaming bullet point. Like the topic of 4K, a significant portion of PlayStation Meeting 2016 was spent on HDR, discussing how great and game-changing the feature is for video games, with its ability to produce more accurate colors, more vibrant vistas, and how PlayStation 4 Pro will be a pioneer of HDR gaming and whatnot. Yet, despite making such a big deal about the feature and spending a huge chunk of their time explaining the advantages of HDR for PlayStation 4 Pro, as it turns out, this is also a feature that can already be found on the Xbox One S. That's because HDR isn't something that necessarily requires additional horsepower to execute in this generation, but has more to do with compatibility across the console and the televisions that they're hooked up to. And it seems as though Xbox One S has already beaten PlayStation 4 Pro to the punch. And then there's the beautiful design bullet point, which, well, it will be up to personal preference, but I personally agree that the PS4 Pro doesn't look all that attractive with its three-story design. But anyway, following this post, the Xbox team further capitalized on the PlayStation Meeting event's negative reception by making some confident statements when interviewed by website IGN. When IGN asked Albert Pinello, Senior Director of Product Management and Planning at Xbox, about what the landscape is looking like for Project Scorpio and Xbox One S following Sony's latest announcements, he had this to say: "I believe that the difference between what we're going to deliver with Scorpio from a performance perspective and PS4 Pro will be obvious to consumers. I believe we have the best value this holiday, and I think we're going to have the most powerful box next year." In other words, now that the PlayStation team has officially announced the capabilities and specifications of the PlayStation 4 Pro, it seems as though the Xbox team is confident that Scorpio will be significantly more powerful. This is something that a lot of people already suspected based on rumors and leaks and whatnot, but Xbox is now doubling down on the notion. To further express the Xbox team's confidence in Scorpio, Pinello added the following statement: "I think for $299, the Xbox One S with 4K Blu-ray with HDR, with the upgraded controller with Bluetooth and the new design, I think we've got a killer product that beats their PS4 Slim on the low end. I think that for people who care about the absolute maximum in performance, we said at E3 we're going to be launching the most powerful console ever made. that is still true. We were very confident when we made the announcement. It was kind of a bold thing to say given the rumors that were out there, and I'm more confident today that we're going to have the most powerful console ever made. So again, they're pretty damn confident now that the Scorpio will be significantly more powerful than the PlayStation 4 Pro, which would make it the most powerful dedicated home console. The rest of the article talked about other subjects like the Xbox team's thoughts on this idea of forward compatibility, which is what they're calling when they make mid-generation refreshes like Scorpio or PlayStation 4 Pro that will run games better and make them look prettier while still offering the same ecosystem of games across the board. And Pinello basically reiterated that when Scorpio launches, all the Xbox One consoles, whether it be the vanilla, the S, or Scorpio, will be cross-compatible. They'll be able to play all existing Xbox One games and will be compatible with all existing Xbox One accessories, etc., out of the box. He also talked about how disruptive console generations can be for both developers and customers, and that they're hoping to change this trend through forward compatibility, while emphasizing that they're still working on exciting new, more powerful hardware. There was also talk about what this means for the PC market, with Pinello stating that their goal is to make it easier for developers to make games for more powerful hardware on both consoles and PC, while acknowledging that they're being careful about respecting and differentiating the living room console experience versus the upgradability and customizability that PC users have. And overall, he expressed confidence in the Xbox team's vision of forward compatibility, as well as confidence in the way that they'll be delivering an ideal environment for the coexistence for both the Xbox One Scorpio and the Xbox One S. One last thing I would like to point out is Pinello's assurance that the Scorpio will have the specs to shell out 6 teraflops worth of power, which is significantly more than PS4 Pro's 4.2 teraflops. Now, these are all numbers, and at the end of the day, we'll have to wait until the two products release to make a real comparison on the advantages that each respective console offers in terms of features and graphical fidelity. But based on how confident Microsoft is about the Scorpio's power, the teraflops they intend to reach, and based on rumors and leaks out there, it truly does look like the Scorpio will end up being the most powerful dedicated console of this generation for now. But again, whether this idea of forward compatibility will have any kind of positive effect for the gaming landscape in the grand scheme of things remains to be seen. It will all depend on what kind of advantages forward compatibility will provide for each respective console's games in terms of resolution, frame rates, and overall graphical fidelity, and whether these refreshes can maintain a comfortable and convenient ecosystem. Will these forward compatibility refreshes end up confusing consumers, or will they be able to peacefully coexist with their older counterparts? It's all still up in the air. At the very least, I'm hoping that Scorpio's announcement will be a little more exciting than the PlayStation 4 Pros, and that it'll better showcase the advantages of how forward compatibility will be leveraging their console's power beyond just 4K. I think many people will like to see advantages that are offered for 1080p users, which is most people. Things like better loading times, better frame rates, and noticeable graphical improvements on 1080p. But at the end of the day, I think what will truly determine which console ends up triumphant is the games. Amidst conversations of teraflops, CPU, GPU, 4K HDR, and whatever, I think we're forgetting that people purchase video game consoles for good games released at a steady pace. It's the single most basic thing that truly does matter in the long run with all said and done. So I hope that the folks over at PlayStation and Xbox don't get too worked up over this power race and lose sight of what's truly important, the freaking games. But anyway, there you have it, folks, the Xbox team's rebuttal, if you will, to PlayStation's latest announcements. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts about this new movement towards forward compatibility and whether you expect Scorpio's higher teraflops to give Xbox a significant edge over PlayStation 4 Pro in the long run. And to be further updated on gaming news, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out!